Adam Hardage is a return visitor and guest on The Truth. Adam, welcome.
Thanks a lot, John. Appreciate you having me.
It's nice to have you back. So, Adam, for our listeners who do not recall, is an author. He's written The Alpha Blueprint. He is a husband, a father, and a former CIA operations. What do you call it?
Operations officer,
Officer.
operative, case officer. They're all kind of interchangeable terms. But yeah, it was quite a career. I'm very blessed to have done it, to have had the experience, and to have come out the other end. Not too much worse for wear.
Well, thank you for your service. And can we talk about the CIA for a bit?
For briefly, sure.
Briefly, you mean for the next 3 hours? All right. So, how many people work for the CIA in round numbers?
I have no idea.
100,000?
I have no idea. I've heard that it's upwards, like north of 10,000. I don't know. I don't know.
My suspicion is way north of 10,000, but what do I know? And nobody knows the budget except for about 5 people, plus the director of the CIA and a handful of others. I don't even know if the president knows. I suspect that he would.
I'll put it this way, John. When I worked in station, I could be working on a project at my little cubicle, and the guy next to me would be working on a different project, and we would not discuss the work that we were doing. It's that
secrecy
insulated.
abounds.
Yeah, it does. It's a professional thing, and that's not to say that you don't hear things around the water cooler. People don't talk, exchange things, lunch, whatever else. But yeah, for the most part, it's very professional, very buttoned up, very stovepiped kind of organization.
So, if I could allow me to just share my perspective for a moment, I've been highly critical of the CIA. That makes me a little nervous. I'm starting my car with a broomstick these days, but I don't think I have a sufficient megaphone to cause them any major concern. But when I do that, I have a tinge of guilt in my heart because of people like you. I know there are legions of honest, faith-based, patriotic, hardworking, selfless people who work for the CIA. I truly believe that.
Mm-hmm.
But my appreciation is diminished by the fact that I am convinced beyond a shadow of a doubt that Allen Dulles orchestrated and led the assassination of the 35th president of the United States. The evidence is overwhelming.
Mm-hmm.
And that Lyndon Johnson was probably the puppet master and J. Edgar Hoover helped lead the cover up. Now, I'm sorry, I cannot get past that. And so, because inherently, by definition, the CIA has to operate in the shadows, and I get that. They have to operate in top secret. There is no rationale or justification for having taken out a president of the United States. So now my antennas are up. Anytime something happens,
Mm-hmm.
my knee-jerk reaction is intelligence. Epstein, the rumors abound. 9/11. I mean, who can explain Building 7? Who could pull that off were it not for somebody within our own government who has the ability to control the narrative and cover up in the aftermath?
I actually address a couple of those issues in my new book, in The Alpha Blueprint, because it's all about preparing the next generation for basically a world of lies, a world of deceit, a world powered by AI and enabled with information to an extent where it becomes almost impossible to tell truth from fiction. And I mean, I couldn't agree with you more. What you said about the agency. I look at the agency with a very big jaundiced eye. I mean, having been part of it, and I will tell you, I left under not great circumstances because I got rolled up by the same sort of political corruption that DNI Tulsi Gabbard discussed at her confirmation hearing. In fact, I was part of the exact same covert action program that she called out by name. I'm not going to get into other details because I'm a lower rank type individual that, I don't have great legal counsel, so I'm not sure what I can say or where I stand on that.
Well, we respect that. And I appreciate I appreciate your being honest with us. That's fine. I get it.
I completely agree. I mean, like, we have to have honest, rational discussions and debate. I mean, Tower 7 did not fall on its own. I'm sorry, it just didn't. In fact, I even literally address it in here in this book. Said right here, it's yeah, that's 50 more lies. Number 1, 50 more lies that they will tell you. Tower 7 did not fall on its own.
Good
Although
for
it
you.
says, yeah, fell as a result of office fire. So the point is, we should question our government. We should question if there's a need for everything to be secret, uh, then that's individuals acting like they're above the law, and it doesn't apply to them, and that is ripe for corruption. As we all know, power breeds corruption. Absolute power breeds, corruption. Absolutely, the agency is absolutely a place that needs oversight. There are great people, but the way I think of all of the, let's call it the legacy of ashes. There was actually a book written called The Legacy of Ashes about the CIA, and it talks a lot about kind of what you were even talking about, some of the conspiracies, the cover-ups. And if you think about it, I mean, the agency was the one that came up with the moniker of conspiracy theorist after the JFK assassination to make sure they shut down, any sort of investigation or looking into it. Because if you're bullied by the mob, uh, and you ask a question and everybody else makes fun of you. Well, we all learned in grade school and in college and stuff growing up that it's not necessarily fun to be the butt of the joke. So a lot of people, try and avoid that more than anything. I would just say that in the world that we're going into, the agency has a lot of great people. America has a lot of great people, but it's at the people level. So the problem, in my experience, tends to come in with senior levels of leadership that are given extreme authority and power. And so I don't blame the agency for any of the nefarious things that it was involved with. I blame the leadership, the people who would have been at the top. So you're talking about, your directors of operations, your chiefs of station. I don't know. I mean, I'm not castigating anybody in particular. I'm just saying that's where those things would lie. Your deputy director operations standpoint. I mean, they can stovepipe anything they want, and they could do a huge program, and we would have no idea what the black budget or who's involved in it or what they're doing. So, I mean, they're really, the question that you're kind of raising centrally comes down to oversight, effective oversight.
I
Just
totally agree.
there
And
just never has been. The CIA has never had effective oversight. The HIPSI and the SISI are completely, uh, incapable of enacting that oversight. But that's where we are.
I think that it is self-evident. James Angleton, who was the former well-known assistant
Mhm.
director of the CIA in charge of intelligence, I think. I don't know. He was high up. He said that just look around this room. These are the people who are going straight to hell when they die. And I unfortunately look forward to sharing a room with them. I mean, I know you're a person of faith. I believe in God very strongly.
100%.
And that in itself keeps me on a path. It
Yeah.
keeps me in between the lines, I hope. And I'm not saying that I'm perfect. That's not the point. The point is I'm guided by my faith, and I very much want to spend eternity in heaven. I don't know whether I'll get a shot there or not. I'm working real hard to do it. But do these people lack faith? Do they lack the ability to see into the afterlife and know that they are condemning themselves to an eternity of hell's fire?
I think at its simplest, it comes down to uh, that people in DC at senior leadership levels are highly liberal and progressive at a rate of 90+% of all
Mm.
leadership across any of the agencies. So if you go and you speak to a senior leader in DC, the odds that you're talking to, a left wing nut job is pretty high. Now they cover it pretty well, but when you peel back kind of some of the layers, you get to this sort of defeatist, nihilistic, view on life where, there is no eternal whatever, or everything is subjective. Um, and when you die, that's it. So therefore, it's all about earthly power, earthly control. We got to get ours now. We got to win. They have to lose. It becomes that sort of power dynamic instead of a dynamic that like you or I would have, which would be, you know, I want the best for you. I want the best for my family. I think, freedom is the way. I think God reigns supreme. All that. So I just think you have a fundamentally different view about life, and so there's also kind of a smug. Uh, they don't really mean it when they say like, "Oh, we're going to hell." It's kind of an elitist joke. It's like, "Oh, we're kind of compromising ourselves now, but we're all good people. We're all really good people."
So they rationalize their behavior.
Well, I think all humans do.
I think that is that too broad a brush?
I should say all humans that have not tried to humble themselves before the Lord. Probably.
A bingo.
Yeah, there you
That
go.
is it.
So
My youngest son, who I absolutely love and adore, and I probably today have the best relationship with that we've had in his 38 years on life. But I'll tell you, and he'd be the first to admit it, he's given me every gray hair in my head. I mean, that kid tested the limits at every level, whether it was at school or the Boy Scouts or in church, anywhere. He's not. He's a good kid, but he was a mischievous kid and anti-authority. But I'll tell you, a couple of years ago, can I just digress for a minute? This story is too good to waste. We had a we had a babysitter. Three girls actually babysat our kids who were sisters, and they lived behind us. And their parents were two of the most devout people that I've ever known. And guess what? All three daughters grew up to be believers and very Christian and very firm in their beliefs, and they married good guys. And so Grayson, our youngest son, was a ring bearer in one of the daughters' weddings. She married a great guy, a quarterback for I think Duke or one of the Ivy League or near Ivy League schools, and great athlete, great guy. And the other daughter married a football player for the New Orleans Saints. Just a great family. Anyway, Grayson was the ring bearer, had lost touch, didn't see him for like 20 years, and just out of nowhere, she showed up at the sandwich shop that Grayson was eating lunch in. They ended up grabbing a sandwich together and sitting down and talking for the next 2 hours. And she started sharing her faith with him. He has now become the most devout Christian centered person I've ever seen. And I've never seen someone be on a more narrow path and focused on his religion and his work. And it's just so gratifying to me as his father, who played no role in it. I give it all to the babysitter. And that's how just life works in such mysterious ways. I cannot chalk that up to coincidence. I truly believe that God sent that babysitter back into Grayson's life and got him on the straight and narrow. And so that, as I was saying earlier, that puts guardrails on all of us and our behavior. And it causes you, I think, to not rationalize your bad behavior because God's watching and you can't pull the wool over God's eyes.
I couldn't
What do
agree
you think?
more.
Well, how can we get this nation back on track? I think Donald Trump is a believer. I know he goes to church, not as often as he could, but I think he certainly is there on holidays, and I hear him talk about faith.
Yeah.
But have we lost that as part of our culture?
I don't believe so. I don't. I believe that there's a huge ongoing revival around the country. I think a lot of people are coming to Jesus, especially in light of the Charlie Kirk assassination. I think. I mean, I saw that Turning Point's followers increased. I think something like tenfold. Um,
Yes.
and
Contributors, donors.
Yeah, well, not only that, yeah, but also followers. Yeah, I mean, and so there's so many things I've seen about people saying, I haven't read my Bible and since I was a kid, or I went back to church this last week, or I've realized, I mean, I've got to change my ways. So I think that there is an ongoing revival, and if you look at the parallels between uh, how Charlie Kirk's end happened and the end of our Lord and Savior Jesus Christ, the similarities um, are are not too subtle. I mean, you've got a guy that used to go into the public square and he would argue ideas and he would tell people that they were, living in sin. I'm talking about Jesus now, uh, and they despised the truth so much, and they despised his words so much that they killed him publicly and shamed him in front of everyone. And so you have the same exact story with Charlie Kirk. You got a guy that goes into the public square to debate ideas, tell people that they're living in sin. The crowd hates him so much, they kill him for it. It's, I mean, that's pretty much the guarantee of the Christian path. It's, I mean, Christ even talks about it often. Can you drink from this cup that I'm drinking from? Can you go where I go? Can you do these things? And I think those of us who have been called, and I feel like I've been called by the Lord. I'm not really sure for what, but I think I'm supposed to be, um, a thought leader and a coach and somebody to help prepare, my children and the next generation for a very sort of upside down world, and a world where truth is almost impossible to discern. And that's literally what I wrote this book on. I mean, the Alpha Blueprint, it's preparing the next generation for an AI future. And I talk about in the book, we're already at the point where, um, you know, it's almost impossible to tell if the video you're seeing is real, or if it is AI, or if it has been doctored, edited. And it's just going to get harder and harder. I would say within 2 years, it will be impossible to know whether or not what you're seeing on a screen is reality or not. And it will probably, most likely, you'll be unemployed. I don't mean you, I mean a person. I think that AI is going to, it's going to involve so much um, societal upheaval in destabilizing the workforce that we're going to have a real period of unrest. So I'm trying to talk to people about it now, and explain to them how to weather the what I see as a coming storm. So, and that is live in truth, you know, follow the way, the truth, and the life, i.e., Jesus, and get yourselves and your families right. That's I truly believe we're at that time where this call it's a crucial call.
I could not agree more. And I'm what's known as an early adapter. I've been using ChatGPT and now Grok for over a year,
Mm-hmm.
and it is miraculous. And I really enjoy the thought of having the potential to get my own Optimus robot. Um, but you do highlight the downside to all that. I've led uh, young men for 35 years in my business. We by nature recruit a lot of young people, usually right out of college or shortly thereafter, and that's quite, I'll tell you, that's as a challenge. But we talk to them about goals and motivation, but overriding all of that, I think that we all have a basic intrinsic need to have purpose in our life. And if these robots take away our purpose, then that I really worry about that, because I link purpose with moral compass and divinity as well. And I think they're inextricably linked. And as we usher in an age of abundance, which I truly do believe we're on the cusp of, I follow this stuff more than probably I should every day of my life. I am watching YouTube videos on AI, robotics, and what is coming. The autonomous car, for instance. It is as exciting as it is fearsome,
Hmm.
because if it falls into the wrong hands, we really could be in a world of trouble.
Yeah, I've had this discussion with some other thought leaders, influencers, podcasters, social media types that are completely against the idea of AI and everything, and the use of it in our society. And say it's mark of the beast. You got to stay away from it and all this stuff. Okay, be that as it may, I would submit that the greater danger is not having the good guys involved in the development of AI, and
100%.
and just giving up that fight and letting the world that says men can have babies, and TikTok is just a harmless app. Letting those people run the algorithms, and if you do that, you're toast. Your society is done, because no one will be able to discern truth, and it's already hard enough as it is. So, what I tell people these days is, if you're not standing right in front of me and I can't physically touch you, then I don't have 100% belief in whatever it is that I'm supposedly experiencing. So I think human to human contact is going to become extremely important from a truth validation standpoint going forward. And your show, The Truth with John Gordon, you know that that word truth is a very dangerous word. Um, it's probably gotten more people killed than anything, because the devil is a liar and the devil hates the truth.
Hmm.
And Nietzsche said it well when he expressed that the measure of a man's character is how much truth they can ultimately accept. Um, and I've just found that most people have pretty limited character, um, and those that can accept truth are considered the far right winger conspiracy theorist nut jobs.
Well, that's just bizarre to me. I mean, I think there is a healthy amount of reality in what you say, Adam, but to think that we cannot all come together and say the lowest common denominator in this country and in our world should be the truth. I mean, it's as self evident to me as that you need oxygen to breathe and water in your system to keep you alive. I mean, who would not want truth to be the lowest common denominator? I mean, that just seems ludicrous to me that we cannot, as a society, agree on that simple principle.
Well, you come down to the fundamental value set of a society. Are we a secular, subjective, relative uh, type culture, or are we, a constitutional, God fearing, uh, humble, and honest people? And I think that's the war that you're seeing. It is a cultural war
Yeah.
of defining what is America and what is going to be the character of America. And I'm certainly, I believe that God wins in the end. We're going to have some drama to get there, but he's never failed and he's not going to fail now. So
Well, I think your point about the good guys and the bad guys in charge of AI really resonates. Tucker Carlson did a very compelling interview with Sam Altman just recently,
yeah, I
and
saw
I
that.
was I was in the audience in the All In Summit in Los Angeles 3 weeks ago when Elon Musk appeared there, and those two are championing the AI services, namely ChatGPT is Altman's, and Musk is Chat or
Grok,
Grok.
yeah.
And I can just tell you, if I had to choose between the two, I would want Elon Musk arbitrating the decisions on what's good and what's bad and what should be inherent in Grok versus Sam Altman and ChatGPT, because that guy gives me the creeps.
Yep.
So if our listeners haven't seen that interview, I would really commend you to go to YouTube, search Tucker Carlson and Sam Altman, and watch it. That guy cannot be in charge of the future of mankind, or else we're in a world of hurt. But how do you regulate it? How do you say you're good and you're bad? I mean, we can start with the Bible. Say it says, "Judge ye, lest ye be not judged." I mean, how do you reconcile those two?
I think that everything. Let's talk about business as usual. I think business as usual is over from a society standpoint. Meaning, I think the speed of information and the speed of technology and the ability um, for new technologies to be created and put into place and adopted by the masses moves so much faster than the regulatory authorities, than the government could keep up, than your legislative bodies have any. They got no chance of trying to. How do you even regulate AI?
Yeah.
You know, if you're a congressman, one of however 500 and whatever we have Congress people, you know, you're going to sit there and be like, okay, I got an idea about this AI thing. Let's write a new law on it. Let's get some lobbyists to write some laws. Maybe we'll vote on it in 6 months. Well, in 6 months, they're already 100 more steps behind.
Well, my formulation is pretty simplistic. I think we just look at the laws we've already got and we rewrite them so that they are relevant in today's uh, context. Like the law, what is it? Section 203, is that it? The law that gives media immunity from
Oh,
publishing false information, and it's not. The problem is it says immunity from all false information. It should have an exception, a minimum of except for when you publish false information knowingly. But even that, I believe, is exempt from any kind of accountability.
yeah. I'll tell you. I mean, this is kind of one of those things that you want to talk conspiracies. I think that one has legs. I do believe that was an Obama special gift to America, given to us. You know, on kind of one of those. Let's get this law passed on Christmas Eve when nobody's watching type things. Um,
Yeah.
and then next thing you know, people wonder why they can't get any honest information out of the media. Well, because you made it legal for them to lie. So there's no authority. There's no accountability. Um, it, people are going to have to stop relying on the government and the legacy media to tell them the truth, because it's probably not going to happen. It hasn't happened historically, and it's probably not going to start happening now. So, and that's why, if you want truth, read my book. So, the Alpha Blueprint.
Well, I want an autograph copy of the book. I'll buy it and mail it to you. How about that?
There you go. That'll work.
With a returned autograph. I appreciate your candor and your being real more than you know. So let's talk about Charlie Kirk. You alluded to him a moment ago, and the University of Utah Valley, I think, is that the name of it, Anthony, something like that. But that horrible tragedy that occurred
Yeah.
2 weeks ago now that we all watched in real time on live television. It is one of the saddest things I've ever seen. I knew Charlie. We had a good relationship with one another. I wasn't close to him, but I saw him 2 or 3 times a year for the last 8 years, and he's been on The Truth with us about 8 months ago, and he legitimately was one of the smartest people I've ever known,
Yeah.
unqualifiedly. And I'm not saying this just to speak well of the departed.
No,
but
I
it's
think
just a
I think he was
fact.
one of the greatest minds of our time. I really do. I think
Absolutely brilliant. He would have put Einstein to shame, I think. And he was absolutely convicted in his faith.
Yeah.
And it came up in virtually every conversation that I ever had with him or heard him engage in. And so I respected him a lot. And he was on a mission. My wife, who is the least political person I know, said they killed him because he was having an impact. He was having too much of an impact.
That's correct.
He went out and he converted these young people, and he didn't convert them. He told them the truth and exposed them to the truth and to God. And a lot of them chose to join Turning Point and register as Republicans and vote. I think that has a lot to do with the outcome of the 2024 election. And so he was having too much success for somebody to be able to bear. You have any theories? Let me just state unqualifiedly, I do not believe the narrative. I do not believe the narrative. I'm not even sure that Tyler Robinson. I mean, I saw two retired Navy SEALs yesterday who were expert marksmen say they could not have made the shot. 200 yards with all the pressure, the wind, the crowds, all the things that brought to bear. And I'm not a marksman. I shoot shotguns because I love to hunt, but I like to hunt anything that flies. Basically, I've killed some deer, and I won't go into that anymore. But the last deer I shot, he turned and looked at me and was like, "Why'd you do that?" And he was beautiful. I've never picked up and that was with a bow and arrow. So I've given it up. It didn't feel right to me. But anyway, I know I'm making a lot of people upset. Don't mean to. You do you, and I'll do me. But birds, I have no mercy on. Don't ask me why. But they said that with all the pressures that were there, he just couldn't have made the shot. He could not have dismantled the gun and then put it back together in the middle of the woods. What's that about? So they both hypothesized that the gun was left in the woods, and that wasn't the gun that was used to kill Charlie. So that would be easy enough to determine, wouldn't it?
I'm not a forensic expert. I want to stay away from adjudicating Charlie Kirk's death, whether it was, by virtue of, first off, let me tell you, I've been out for 8 years of government service. So any information I hear or pontificate on is based on all the same open source stuff that everybody else hears.
Sure.
Does it seem fishy to me?
Yes,
that. It absolutely seems. It raises a lot of questions, but I don't. I'm not focused on. I figured there's going to be enough smart people that are going to ask all the questions that can get to the bottom of that. I don't know if the truth will ever come out. It's been successfully buried for most of all of our lives, just about all the big things. So where that is, I don't know. Ultimately, the thing that I come down on is that we will all be tested, and those of us who are called must have the courage of our conviction and the calling to stand up and do our part until the Lord calls us home, type thing. I don't know how much of the Charlie Kirk incident was real or not real. I was not there. I was not, I haven't spoken to anybody who was there in person. I just, it obviously raises a whole lot of questions. But I think at the end of the day, it's just another symptom of the world that we're coming into, where truth is going to be very, very, very difficult to parse. So that's why, and famously in the words of our former President Obama, we in times of trouble like this, we turn to our God and our guns. So I guess I'm guilty of that. Turn into my God and my guns. So.
Well, I see you've got quite an assortment behind you there. So you must be somewhat of a marksman.
I was a military guy for a long time before I joined the agency, and so most of my background is in the world of special operations. I was Air Force Academy graduate, class of '97, and then after 9/11 happened, I crossed over and joined Army Special Forces, and then ultimately got picked up by the intelligence community to go become an operations officer. So I've done more than some and less than many. So,
well, you have had a fascinating career, and you've offered this new book, The Alpha Blueprint. and it's about AI and how to raise children in the age of AI. Do you have any parting wisdom or insights for us that you'd like to share on, if you're a parent, how you're going to raise your children in this new
Well,
age?
yeah, absolutely. I'll leave you with kind of the central theme that I think is really the takeaway that parents should be thinking about right now. And so, in the book, I talk about I don't care if you're ethically against AI, if you're morally against AI, if you're for it, it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter a bit to me. The fact of the matter is AI is here, it's here to stay, and it's going to be the reality that we all have to live with and deal with. So, what has the rise of AI has democratized PhD level intelligence globally for about $20 a month. So, what that means is that the 15-year-old kid in Lagos, Nigeria, can now write a business plan on par with a Harvard MBA, that's got the best advisors and instructors in the world. And so that has leveled the playing field intellectually for all of us. And so, if that is the case, I think of the analogy of NASCAR. And in NASCAR, theoretically, every car is tuned the same. So the engines are the same size, same displacement, the tires are the same weight, the same balance, same size, blah, blah, blah. Anyway, a car, in theory, should not be enough to win a race in NASCAR. That's the whole point of NASCAR. The race is won by the driver themselves and the individual inputs and the choices that the driver makes. So that's what I talk about in the book a lot. As I say, look, in the world that we're all going into, we're all going to have a quantum capability at our fingertips, a supercomputer. Just literally like pick up bleep, and there's your supercomputer answer back to you in 5 seconds. So we're all going to be gifted with this super level of intelligence. But what do you do with that? How do you use it? And how do you maintain relevancy in a world where jobs are getting replaced faster than companies can even write new job descriptions? And I would say that those who are going to win in the coming world of an AI centric, AI powered world are going to be those individuals that can take the time to really learn who they are authentically inside themselves, can embrace their creativity, can nurture that, and can learn to use the tools of AI to accomplish what their own specific path would have them be. So, in other words, I'm not saying people should go out and in 5 years they should go to college and plan to go work for a Fortune 500 company for 30 years and retire with a 401k. That world is gone. It's not going to happen. So, the best thing that they could do, in my opinion, is to leverage the tools and understand that there's going to be more economic upheaval over the next few years than most people, I think, have even started to grasp. And those who will succeed in the coming environment will be the ones that learn to use the tools of AI at their disposal, that understand the pitfalls and the ways to not use it, and to how to not put their brain in a jar and let AI do their thinking for them, but allow AI to make them a 1000x more powerful individual by virtue of the fact that they can work at 10 times the speed that they used to, or they can produce at a level that's much higher than they used to.
Tell us what you mean.
So, okay, let's go back to the kid. I use the analogy of the 15-year-old in Lagos, Nigeria, can write a business plan on par with a 25-year-old Harvard MBA with the best instructors' minds in the world. So that kid 1000x'd himself by leveraging the tools of AI. But if that kid just lets AI do its thinking for him, then he will fall flat on his face when he stands in front of a real human and has to defend a
Yeah.
position or talk about the plan or whatever else. So my central premise is that yes, AI will 1000x your intellectual capability and your ability to produce eye-wateringly beautiful reports and everything else. But at the same time, if that individual doesn't have the authentic knowledge and internal if they are not authentic, they will not succeed. And that, I believe, is going to be probably the biggest cry in the future is authenticity. People who can leverage the tools at their disposal, but also can understand and embrace truth, know and speak truth, and live as creative, authentic people. That is going to be, I think, the real determiner for those who have a successful future and those who do not in the world of AI. That's my personal ticket.
Well, I think those are I think those are great insights to leave the interview on, and we really appreciate it. I remember enjoying our last conversation, and this conversation has been every bit as much fulfilling. So, thank you, Adam Hardage. He's written a book, The Alpha Blueprint, and you can get it. I bet you can get it on Amazon. Yeah, you sure can, because I've got the
sure can.
Advertisement right here. And how's the book doing?
It's doing great. We just published it on the 23rd, so it's been out for 7 days now. It's going great.
Yeah, you can add one more to your win column, and we really do appreciate your time today and your great insights as well as your service to our country. And we note that the foreword to your new book is written by Lieutenant General Michael Flynn, who has also been on The Truth. Have a great rest of your weekend, and thank you so much, Adam Hardage.
Thank you very much. Appreciate it, John.